In the last video, we talked about how important the mind is and critical thinking, our five sense reality, and how it should align with our heart. Truly, our heart should lead the way. Truly, it should. It knows. It doesn't really think, but it's connected to infinite intelligence. Meanwhile, our mind is connected to our heart and is perceiving through five sense reality. So whenever we feel a check in our heart, it's a no. And if our mind isn't interested, it's also a no. Maybe means no. So as we go through and we attempt to put our purpose into action, it's going to be very obvious what we don't want to do. Now, in this video, I want to dive deep into the Ikigai. Actually, I'm going to have you do an exercise after this video, asking yourself the questions that the Ikigai model presents, and also asking the opposite questions. Okay, what are you good at? What are you passionate about? What are you not passionate about? What are you not good at? Those are just as important as the affirmative questions. And sometimes they lead to even bigger glimpses into our function, into our role, and into implementing our purpose. Here's what I mean. For me, I personally have a hard time watching television. It's very predictable for me. And I find a huge issue with a lot of the story because it's just too easy to predict what's going to happen to the characters. I can't even watch a television show with my mom because I guess every single time the ending of the show, and it drives her completely nuts. Well, that's a huge glimpse into, one of the things that I'm here to do with my function, right? Like my purpose is to bring joy. And I do that through a variety of functions, not just one. And writing and doing comedy, that's one of those particular functions. Observations, silly things that are a little bit goofy or bizarre, I tend to notice and then I try to bring attention to, and usually, not always, but usually I can get a laugh out of people as a result of that. And so story is something that is very innate to us. It's very natural as human beings, but I also find a huge, irritation in myself when I watch something that's very predictable. I feel like my time was wasted. I feel resentment toward whoever created the thing. Like I'm not like malicious about it, but at the same time, it's a huge insight into one of the things that I can use my purpose to put into function, something that I can implement my purpose of bringing joy into. And so I'm writing currently a pilot I have in development. I write a lot of sketches, I write stand-up comedy, and that's just one of the things that I really enjoy doing. It's a great way for me to exercise my purpose. One thing that I learned a few years ago was that our passion, what we're passionate about, should really, come from curiosity. And based on what we've learned so far and what we touched on in the last video, I've given a very, I would say, exhaustive, very broad overview of a lot of information. And you're welcome to dig down into each one of these or any one of these that sparks your curiosity, because your curiosity is going to lead to your passion, and your passion is going to lead to your purpose, and your purpose, fulfilling that, is going to lead to abundance, truly. Once you begin to align heart and mind and go toward your purpose, which is generated through this curiousness about the world, about something, or something that's a little off, right? Like in this case, asking both questions. What do I like? What do I not like? And being very intentional about both of those. Now, we're going to do the Ikigai exercise after this video, but before that, I want to talk to you about signs. And this is a little bit woo-woo, but it's something that is incredibly valuable to me as I've gone on to implement my purpose personally. Now, as I said at the beginning of this, the heart should lead the way. The heart knows, it feels and knows. The mind is only capable of creating models, interpreting the how, strategizing, truly great things, critical thinking, etc. But it doesn't really call the shots per se, right? Like our passion, our purpose, that's generated from a deeper part of ourself, something that is connected to infinite intelligence, something that is connected to everything that exists, and meanwhile communicates to the mind. So both of those need to be in alignment and in agreement. Now, as you go on, you may notice certain things, subtle hints, things that point toward ways to go in the flow of situations. Those are signs, okay? They may be very subtle. It may be something that you overhear someone else say. When someone overtly tells you what you should do, they're wrong, almost always. When they say, here's what you need to do, okay? Especially if it's unsolicited, that's not a sign, okay? That's not a sign. Now, what might be a sign might be seeing a specific billboard at a strange time, this weird synchronicity. You know, when you've been thinking about doing a certain thing and you see this billboard and you're like, whoa, I've been thinking about that. Interesting. That's a little synchronistic hint that the universe is giving you. And there's a lot of ways that it can do it, okay? A multitude of ways. So just keeping that in mind. Those sometimes can be confirmations as you go along. There may be times and points when you're like, I'm not really sure what I should do next. But listen to your heart, and as you approach the next step in your journey, and we're going to break down in the next video a very strategic roadmap for that journey. As you go through, just take note of what you see. Be in that observing perspective that we talked about in the last video, where the roots of the tree are. Be there at the root of the tree, allowing yourself to feel and think, and finding the ways that you feel and think in harmony with yourself, where your heart and your mind agree, where they coordinate with one another. That's very, very, very important. You want to be in alignment. You deserve to be in alignment, and that is going to absolutely open up a whole new world. You're going to exude more charm. You're going to be more attractive to people. You're going to be in a better mood. I mean, the amount of benefits for being in heart and mind alignment are truly endless. There's a whole wealth of benefits to it. But I just wanted to give you that little tip about signs and how signs work. You will see signs. I think it's something that's kind of sacred. I think it's something that you can keep, to yourself as you notice that, and you say, okay, check that, copy. And then you go along on your path and you implement whatever it is that's presented to you. Because there's a flow of events. Fighting against that flow of events is the same as those lower states of consciousness where we're trying to force, allowing those events to flow, and taking decisions within that flow is power, okay? So once you're done with this video, take the time, do the Ikigai, and start to ask yourself the questions for each quadrant of the Ikigai, and also the opposite questions to each one of those quadrants in the Ikigai. And yeah, have fun with it. Take as much time as you like. I'd say, really try and be exhaustive in specific with all of your answers. And we'll see you in the next video.